The only people left now with any integrity are what I call the gold vigilantes. These are the guys who are saying enough is enough. We're going to crash the banks. We're going to crash the system by forcing gold and silver up through new levels, and to just completely decimate these guys and to hammer them where it hurts them most, their stock price, and just put them out of business. And that's what the gold vigilantes are doing, and they're succeeding. You see it right now in silver. Let me give you an insight.
Who originally thought up this idea? Let's give credit where credit is due.
Well, originally it came down the pike as an institutional idea. The big hedge funds are talking about it. I would say probably Eric Sprott of Sprott Asset Management and John Embry up there in Canada have been talking about this. Mike Krieger, who was over there at Zero Hedge, and I talked about it when he was on my show recently. And then I was on your show, and we talked about it. So those are some of the names, but it's not a secret that J.P. Morgan is short 3.3 billion ounces of silver. They are short 3.3 billion ounces of silver. This is silver that they've sold that they don't own. If anyone comes to collect the silver, they have to go into the open market to buy it, to make that delivery. Now, the silver market is not even one-tenth that size. So naturally, when you have that much buying on a commodity that's fractionally that much available, it drives the price to to new highs. That's why I'm making this call. I think we're going to see silver trade at $500. $500 silver. It's based on a couple of things. Number one, we all, us in the industry and people on your show, see gold trading at $10,000 an ounce. That's a foregone conclusion at this point. You've always got a 20-to-1 relationship between silver and gold, so that's your $500 right there. Number two, given J.P. Morgan's position, they've got, as I mentioned, 3.3 billion ounces of silver sold short as part of their overall balance sheet, which is $1.5 trillion in derivatives that they can't cover. The entire market capitalization of J.P. Morgan is $150 billion. So they've got debts or derivatives 10 times bigger than the entire capitalization of their stock, and all those derivatives are tied to their silver short position. And these gold vigilantes and people buying silver all over the world are going to jack that price up. And we can get to $500 silver. And look what's happening right now. If you look at the silver price right now, it's trading at $26.81. Remember that recently it got down to around $25. Now, as I've explained to you, Alex, my job on Wall Street for 8 years, I was a professional options trader. That's how I made my bones on Wall Street. 90% of my business was trading options. The third Friday of every month, which is tomorrow, is what's called option expiration day. That $25, what's called a strike price, a $25 price, the fact that the J.P. Morgans of the world were unable to get the price down below 25 means that all of these option contracts, thousands that be rolled tomorrow, are going to be rolled in a way that requires every single one of these guys to put up more cash or to sell short more silver, or to basically put them at greater risk. James Turk, who was probably the foremost authority in the gold and silver market, says this is the beginning of what we saw back in the 1960s when the gold cartel broke apart and you started the action of gold from 35 to 800. You see this happening in silver right now, right today. This option expiration date is happening right now. They're unable to keep the price below 25. He thinks that this price of silver could bolt well past $29-30 in the next 3 to 4 days.
So the banks... I'm making
this call right now, $500 silver. That's what I'm making the call right now, $500 silver.
Okay, so to be specific, though, so the big mega banks, they don't just want to suppress gold and silver because it exposes their fiat currency. In the act of suppressing it, it makes them be way short in actually physically holding it because they're going in there and making naked bets in layman's terms to manipulate the market. But if they get called on it, then their fraud gets exposed. And I think it is important to expose this fraud. The Gold Antitrust Group has been exposing it. Insiders have been coming public. And even in mainstream news, they've had SEC hearings, as you know about this, Max, in the last few months. So this is a real issue out there. But if it went to 500, which some say it should be for inflation or whatever, I don't know if that's the case. I'm not, a technical expert like yourself or Bob Chapman. But regardless, even if silver goes to $29, $35, $40 an ounce, wouldn't that catch them with their pants down? I mean, silver doesn't need to go to 500 to catch them to the with their pants down. Do you have some type of actuary number of what level silver has to go to really reveal the chicanery?
Well, every single dollar it goes up now, for example, if silver makes a $10 move, Goldman Sachs is at something like $5 billion right now, right here. And that's right off the top. It doesn't get into the ripple effect of their derivatives book. It means that they've got unrealized losses on their derivative books probably 10 times greater than that. And it just gets worse and worse. At some point, but I want to make this point, Alex, that $500 silver is well within the range of a normal market move given where we've been and what's happening in both gold and silver going forward. There's always been this 20-to-1 ratio between gold and silver historically. And gold at $10,000, you're talking $500 silver. And this is a number that professionals are now considering as well within reach. So not only are you going to bust J.P. Morgan at these levels and you're buying this silver, you're taking it off the market, you're exposing their short position, and what this means is they sold people stuff for cash. They have the cash that they sold. They sold people stuff and they took people's cash. Now those people are buying back, but they don't have the stuff to deliver. They're short. There's nothing in the cupboard. They have to
and again, Goldman Sachs and J.P. Morgan, they've been caught, especially Goldman Sachs. They even paid, $500 million, but they made billions, so it was paltry. They've been caught selling bad derivatives to their customers while they were secretly betting against it. And, of course, they famously called it, basically pure garbage, but they used a cuss word for it. So,
well, they collude with each other. In other words, this is what James Turk is talking about, the cartel. They all cooperate with each other to keep the price cheap because they all benefit by having the dollar, the competitor to gold and silver, relatively strong. But they can't suppress it anymore. It's just like in the 60s when that cartel bust apart. You had a move from 35 to 800 in gold, Alex, 35 to 800. So I'm saying silver making a move from 26 to 500 is historically well within the norm. Those are the kind of moves we're talking about, parabolic, mind-blowing moves. If Google and these other high-tech stocks that had no business plan whatsoever, that had no profits whatsoever, were worth $100, $200, $300 billion on the exchange based on market, maneuvers back in the 90s. Think about something that actually has value, like silver, getting caught up in a global fiat currency.
No, I understand. A fleeing from all the fiat currencies that are being devalued through coordinated devaluation, and then the media lies and calls it a currency war. It's a race to the bottom. Now, you've got a story up at maxkeiser.com called $500 silver, and you've got an idea today, Max.
Yeah, the idea is Google bomb, $500 silver. This is a story I've written. I call it the Crash J.P. Morgan Buy Silver Manifesto, or how to get hedge funds to do your dirty work for you and drive the price of silver to 500. But very simply, $500 silver. And it just goes over, the 8-point plan. It just walks through where we are, what's going to happen. Every ounce of silver you buy, you're putting pressure on the shorts. And the thing about a monetary metal like gold or silver is that once it achieves these rarefied levels, it becomes more viable that the central bankers consider it as a reserve currency. As Robert Zoellick said last week in the Wall Street Journal, they now want to consider gold as a reserve currency. That means that if gold gets to $10,000 an ounce and silver gets to $500 an ounce as part of a move toward a gold-backed global currency, it's going to stay at those levels. It's going to be stuck at those levels because that's the level determined by the global banks as the new standard by which all currencies are factored. So you're making an investment in a move in a precious metal that once it achieves these price levels, it'll stay at those price levels. Plus, you've got these other central banks in China who are talking about moving to a gold-backed currency. The Middle East is moving into gold. The central banks are no longer net sellers of gold. They're net buyers of gold. They're buying hundreds of tons at a time. China just said they're going to buy another 300 tons. They said to catch up to America, China's got to buy 7,000 more tons of gold. And gold and silver trade in tandem.
Okay,
gold
so you want
10,000, silver goes to 500.
So you're saying people should
right now 500.
Okay, so we're going to break here. So you're saying $500 silver is the search term, and folks think this is a good idea. They can certainly go to maxkeiser.com and read your article and put that into Google and see how the New World Order likes that. Well, I tell you, the rebellion is on here. This is big medicine. What Max Keiser's up to here today. We'll be right back, Max. Stay with us. Gerald Salente coming up in about 35 minutes from now. I've got huge breaking TSA info going up in T-minus 5 minutes at Infowars.com. This is the biggest news yet of everything that's happened. This is the biggest news yet that not only are DAs around the country now saying they're going to take complaints and investigate it and may prosecute. Now they got police in the airports looking for it because they know crimes are being committed. Think of the magnitude of that. They know crimes are being committed. We're going to get that video up very soon and have it posted in Kurt Nimmo's article as well so people can actually hear him say it. In fact, guys, it'll take time to get that video up. In the meantime, we might just want to chop out the audio of that 15-minute interview with the DA because that would take seconds. Can we just convert that to an MP3? Because it'll take hours to get it up on YouTube. Can we just convert that to MP3 and have Kurt add that in his article once it's up? Excellent. Bombshell. This is huge what's happening. And so I'm going to have a search term for you on this coming up about 10 minutes in the next hour. Be ready for that because this is where we're really having an effect. Max Keiser, of course, of the Keiser Report at maxkeiser.com, wants to get out $500 silver. And if we do break the back of the central banks on this issue, if we do show that they've been shorting silver, which the evidence is clear they are, this could be even bigger than the whole situation with the TSA. What we're learning is we have ways to fight back. Max Keiser, you agree with that?
Absolutely. The Google bombing is definitely a fantastic way to win the information wars because it's all about information. And to dominate those search engines, you're fighting fire with information. It's fantastic. The TSA thing, is something that was not in the public domain, but you drove it up the top of the search engine, which drew the other media outlets that are totally driven by ratings. And when they see something at the top of the ratings in a search engine, then they'll cover the story. The internet is a self-feeding phenomenon, just like buying silver. The higher it goes, the more risk J.P. Morgan's balance sheet is.
And now the feeding frenzy on TSA is, now the media admits this is a total rebellion against government. This is just totally blowing up in their face. They are panicking now.
Yeah, it is exactly that. It is a feeding frenzy because it's the tipping point. It's people finally, the last humiliation has been born. They simply someone putting their hand down your pants, that was it. The public is now awake. We know, you've said on your show for years, when is the public going to be awake? I think, in my opinion, you just flipped the switch. You just turned the lights on, buddy. They are now awake.
Well, I want to give the listeners credit. I mean, we took the initiative here, but it is exciting, Max. I mean, because when people learn they have power, then that becomes a feeding frenzy on other issues.
It's all connected because at the center of all of these issues are a central group of folks who don't think the rule applies to them, who are engaged in all manner of financial fraud, who are aggregating huge wealth and using that wealth to buy politicians to pass laws to make it easier to aggregate power and aggregate wealth. And they've had the feeding frenzy going in their favor for 30 years. Now the bubble has popped, the credit the credit bubble has popped, and you've got deflation, and the people are not getting the easy money that they were. They're looking around, they're wondering what the heck happened. After a couple of years of thinking about it, they finally figured out, I get it. We've now got to push back, or we're going to, at risk, to be indentured servants, indentured slaves.
And people aren't just running around turning cars over. They're doing effective things. And that's what scares the globalist. Well, you heard Max Keiser. He wants you to search the term $500 silver. This won't make the New World Order very happy, I'm here to tell you. Max, great job, my friend. We'll talk to you again very, very soon. That's Max Keiser. I'll be on his show tomorrow.